Hi, this is a tutorial on getting started with the CLL algorithm for the Rubik's Cube. In fact, we're doing this for the 3x3 Rubik's Cube, and if you look in front of the camera, you'll see a lot of 2x2 Rubik's Cubes patterns. So what we're going to do is use the same strategy that's often used for the 2x2 Rubik's Cube to get sub 3 second solves. We're going to apply that instead to the 3x3 cube for a strategy of solving the 3x3 cube. So what is CLL? Let's talk about what it is. It's an algorithm that says first you solve the bottom of the cube, particularly the corners. You want to get the corners in place. And from there you turn the cube over and you look at the top and you look at what pattern you have at the top. From the pattern, which is one of these 42 patterns you see in front of you, you can decide what is the solution to solve the top corners. And by applying that formula, you get the top corners in place. And then you have all corners in place and you can proceed to solve the Rubik's Cube, the rest of the strategy that you use for corners first. So let me give you a quick example of what this looks like. So here is a 3x3 cube where we have the bottom corner solved. You see all the whites are in place. And we've got the corresponding corners around the sides in the right place. But on the top, we don't have the corner solved. So if we look on our sheet, we'll see that the pattern we have here is actually the same as what's up here. And I give you the formula to solving that. And we just apply that strategy. Here it's RU, R prime U, R U squared, R prime. And if I do that, now I have the top corners in place. And in fact, all corners are in place. So from there, I can solve the full Rubik's Cube using the rest of my strategy. Now the rest of that strategy, I'm not teaching here. There's a lot of good tutorials already on the internet to do that. What I'm doing here is instead showing you how to get started with the CLL because there's a lot to memorize there. And I want to make it easy for you to find those patterns, to recognize them, and to solve them, and to get started on this. That's the entire purpose of this. Now, why would you want to do a strategy like this for the 3x3? Because everybody's doing CFOP or RUS. Why would you use a corners first? Because that's what they did a long time ago, and that strategy is pretty much dead today, right? Well, it's not necessarily dead because there's a push for a new way of solving the cube called LMCF, which is low move corners first. There is an absolutely excellent document by Eric Fata that explains how to do this, how to solve the cube in about 41 to 45 moves using this strategy. However, it is very, very advanced. And you need to start somewhere. And the purpose of what I'm teaching here is towards that direction. Because CLL, what we're doing now, is a big part of LMCF. If you can do CLL, the next step is LMCF, and you're also going to be very good at solving the 2x2 cube. So there's two good reasons to explore this strategy. So this tutorial has 3 parts. I'm going to start by looking at these patterns and helping you understand where you are and how to use this chart and how to solve things with that chart. Then I'm going to talk about how to practice to build up the muscle memory and to learn these algorithms in a tractable way, because if you just try to learn everything at once, good luck. But if we have a more intelligent strategy that takes a few moves at a time and learns those really well and learns how to practice those, then over time you're going to develop the full CLL. And the last part, I want to talk a little bit about the mathematics, which I think will be interesting for everybody, whether you're a advanced cuber or just a beginner. There's some interesting things to think about and how to recognize these things and how to even develop your own moves, and might have 1 or 2 surprises at the end. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Okay, so here's our chart of 42 different patterns that we get from Christopher Olson, and we want to start to recognize and understand these patterns. These are organized column-wise. Each column is a different class of patterns. Let's just look at the first two, so I'm going to draw a line down the middle. This first one on the left is called soon. I don't know where the name comes from, and this one is called anti-soon. Both soon and anti-soon are unique in that they have one corner on the top. So in all these cases on this chart, they assume you've solved the bottom corners, and the top is going to be the yellow, the bottom is the white. And if you have one yellow on top, you're in soon or anti-soon. So that's the first thing you have to recognize. If I have one of the right color on the top, that's the position I'm in. I'm in one of these two columns. So is it soon or anti-soon? Well, the difference is if you start with that yellow corner on the top and you go across anti-clockwise, if you end up with another yellow on the side, then you're in anti-soon. If you don't, if there's not a yellow, instead the yellow is on the other side, it's in soon. So by looking at those two corners, you've already figured out what column you're in. Okay, once I know what column in, what do I do next? How do I know which of these 6 patterns am I in? Well, we have to divide it more because there's similarities depending upon the other corners on the top. And we can break it into 3 parts. And the trick is to look for opposite colors. Opposite means they're on the opposite side. So red is always on the opposite of orange on a solved cube. Yellow and white are opposites, and blue and green are opposites. So at the top, the first 2, they have opposites on the diagonal. The next 2 for soon have opposite colors at the top. And the bottom 2 for soon have opposite colors like this, vertical lines. So once you've recognized you're in soon, and we're just talking about soon now, we'll worry about anti-soon later, the next step is, okay, where are the opposite colors? They're either diagonal, horizontal, or vertical. In all cases, we're assuming we have the one yellow corner in the lower left-hand side. So once we've recognized that, then we know which category we're in. We're either in here, here, or here. So we have one more thing to look at to figure out which exactly one we have. Now, one thing I have to emphasize is to do this, you have to be color neutral. You're not always going to have these patterns. Maybe you solved green at the bottom, in which case you're not going to have the same exact colors you see here. You have to think in terms of opposite colors, or matching colors, or not matching colors. Or not matching means they're not the same and they're not opposite. So quickly, I'll hold up a cube example. Here we have our bottom solved. Here we have our soon position, because we have our yellow here and our yellow here. And where are our opposites? Right here, diagonal, blue and green. So it means we're in one of these 2 positions. Which one are we in? To find out the answer to that, we don't want to be looking all around the cube everywhere saying, where are we, where are we? We want to look one more place. And here's that last place. Either this corner and this corner match, or they're opposites. And that's how you distinguish between those 2. So in this case we have here, we have red and red. They match, which is matching here, which means apply this first algorithm, which is RU R prime R U squared R prime. So let's do that. Okay, this was a little bit of a contrived example because I've nearly had it solved, but the general strategy works. So that's how we recognize that pattern. So remember, first thing is setting it up. Am I in soon or anti-soon? If I'm in soon, put the quarter in the lower left. Then look for my opposites. Are they diagonal, horizontal, or vertical? Once I know that, then I just have to look one more place. Are they matching or not matching? Then I know my algorithm. So for all of these, you'll be able to do something similar. In this case, you have to look here and here to decide if they're matching or not matching. But if you're in the middle case, it's not the same, because you have to look here versus here, because these are matching, these are not matching. And in the bottom case, you have to look here versus here, because these are not matching and these are matching. So that's how you're going to recognize the pattern quickly. Okay, so now we have a general strategy for recognizing patterns. You can do this for soon and anti-soon. You can do it for every single column up here. Look, at the beginning, you just want to take a little bit at a time, work at one at a time, learn soon, learn all 6 of those, get it mastered. Once you have those mastered, do it whenever it comes up. If you don't get a soon pattern, do whatever you normally do to solve it. And over time, you can build up others. You can build up anti-soon, the H pattern, the U pattern, all these other patterns. So start out simple, do it one by one. But what I want to do next is talking a little bit how to practice this stuff, because there's a lot to memorize and it's going to take time. However, if you really want to get fast at this, you're going to have to build up muscle memory, and you're going to have to do this over and over and over and over again. Here's some strategies to help build up that muscle memory. Let's just start out with the soon algorithm that we just did, which is RU R prime, U R U squared R prime. And let's take a solved cubed, any way you want to hold it, I don't care, and just do that. Just do that algorithm to the solved cubed. Okay? Do it and repeat it over and over and over. And every time you do that, you're going to notice the white solves itself. It remains solved, but the top changes. And you end up in different patterns. But what's interesting here, and this is where we're getting into the mathematics a little bit, is eventually, if you keep on doing this, you're going to come back to a solved cube, like that. And this is a consequence of the mathematics of group theory. What we're doing is applying a permutation, or an algorithm, over and over again, and the mathematics of group theory tells us it's eventually going to come back to itself, and that's called the order of the permutation, or the order of the algorithm. And in this case, the order is 6. You do it 6 times and it'll come back to itself. This is a good way to practice because you keep on repeating the same motion until it becomes automatic. Another advantage of doing this is because at the beginning it's not going to be automatic muscle motion, but you can actually see what's happening, and the same thing is happening in all of these algorithms, in the sense that we're just kind of undoing the bottom, doing some crazy stuff, whatever it may be, and putting the bottom back in place. That's what they all do. And in some sense, you can develop your own moves in this way by making up some pattern of moves that scrambles things and then unscrambles the bottom, but who knows what happens to the top. And eventually, if you keep on repeating that, you're going to come back to yourself as a solved cubed. So this is one way of practicing. Here's another strategy. The second strategy that I would talk about is the soon and anti-soon are opposites of each other, often, or very close to opposites. So watch what happens if I first apply a soon strategy. We'll do the one we've been doing. Now let's figure out what pattern I'm at the top. So I've got the bottom solved. Where am I at the top? I've got a yellow here and a yellow down here. It's anti-soon. And in fact, it happens to be this first anti-soon pattern. It actually matches up quite exactly by coincidence. And they give us a few different algorithms to solve that. You can choose the one that you like the best. Mine starts out, well, I'll use the top one. And watch what happens if I do the anti-soon strategy after doing soon. Okay, I've got the top solved, and I almost have the whole thing solved. And in fact, it's not a lot more moves to actually solve the cube. So that gives me another way of practicing. What I do is I do a soon, and then I do an anti-soon. Back to back, over and over and over and over. And that way you can build up both of those patterns together. So that's pretty cool. All right, so just an aside, I want to talk a little bit more about creating your own moves, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but it could be fun to dabble in, especially because some of these moves here are very complicated and I'd like simpler ones, and I hope at the end we'll give you an example of that. I don't like when we have to regrip and rotate the cube. It would be great if somebody could find simplified moves. But let's go back to what we were talking about before. If we apply the same move over and over, it eventually comes back to itself. That's called the order of the move. For our first one, our soon, the order was 6. If we do it 6 times, that first soon algorithm 6 times, it eventually comes back to a solved cubed. If you do it one less than that, which is 5 times in this case, that is the inverse of this move. It means it sets you up so you do it one more time and that solves it. And it's that inverse position is what you want to remember if you're going to create your own move. Because it's the inverse is which gets mapped on this chart. So we'll just show you that again. We'll do this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've done it 5 times. If I do it one more, it's going to solve it. And you'll see exactly what pattern I'm at. I've got one yellow right here and one yellow right here. That's our soon. We've got opposites here, as we said before. And this red here matches this red here, which is that. So that's what gets put on the chart. The inverse element, which is one less than the order of the element or the permutation or the algorithm, whatever you want to call it. So now if I do it one last time, blah. Okay, so let's do an example how we create our own move by doing this. In a previous video we had this move called a wiggy. I did it turning the cube over. This time I'm going to do it upside down. It's a very simple move. Okay, I'll do the left wiggy where I go up, out, down, move it that way, that way, that way, that way. 7 turns. And I'll do that over and over again. And all I'm doing every time is popping a corner out and then just putting it back in a different way. And I can do this wiggy over and over again. And this one has kind of high order. I'll just keep going a little bit quicker to get to the punchline. Almost there. Okay. This is the inverse of the wiggy. We can look up this pattern. It's actually an L pattern. And it has opposites along here. And This one is where we are. Now the solution to that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 terms. 9 terms to solve that with their algorithm. There's another one which is more terms, but our wiggy is only 7 terms. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the wiggy is a faster solution to what they have here. You can invent your own moves. We can send it off to Chris Olson and hopefully he'll publish those. Hopefully this over time will simplify and we have less complex moves. Some of the more complicated moves I don't have answers to, but I'm also getting started. And over time I hope I can help develop this more. And let's make LMCF great again. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave comments. Let me know what I can do to improve.